Well, I mentioned that Rangers will be in Europa League action. Scottish football came back yesterday, and of course, it's easy to forget that Scottish football hasn't played since March. So, Rangers kicked us off yesterday at Aberdeen. Celtic played today. Let's get a review from David Tanner, back talking about what's happening on the pitch. David, how exciting.
Hey, I almost forgotten what it was like. But my goodness, it was good to have it all back yesterday. We had some madness, we had some quality, we had some big stories, and of course, as usual, Hibs are top of the league. Well done.
And the Australian getting a double, Martin Boyle.
Boyle was superb yesterday. I was there at Hibs yesterday, and he was absolutely superb. Back with a bang, 2 terrific goals. Yeah. I have to say, Eastwood, who debuted in goal for Kilmarnock yesterday on loan from Sheffield United, had a bit of a shocker at the first one, flying out of his goal and tackling him 25 yards out. And with a player of Martin's pace, you don't want to be doing that. But he hammered that one home, and 2 really quality finishes from the lad from Aberdeen, who's all of a sudden an Australian international and making a name for himself down under as well. So great way to start for Hibs. And I thoroughly enjoyed being back at the games, albeit in very strange circumstances. Obviously,
Stephen Gerrard spoke before the game, the difficulty of playing Aberdeen away opening game. They get a 1-0 victory. Ryan Kent gets the goal. So a really decent start for Rangers.
Oh, terrific. Stevie G had won just once in 4 visits to Pittodrie. So that was absolutely massive. Now, the atmosphere when Rangers go to Pittodrie is absolutely electric. In fact, it's toxic. And I think Rangers crumbled there in the last couple of years. Now, they didn't have the pressure of the crowd there. They had the pressure of expectation, which they lived up to. Tell you what, though, Tony, I don't know what you think about this. 1-0, not enough. They did dominate for periods in that game and didn't finish off Aberdeen, and that will be a worry. But even with Morelos on the pitch and in the team, as I said to you, he would be yesterday, they didn't kill them off as much. They got the points though, which I think is a terrific start to the season. We shouldn't underestimate that, given all the pressure that's on Rangers and of course Celtic to play today.
Yeah, I got Hamilton. It's only a couple of miles out of Glasgow, isn't it? I live in Bothwell, David, which you'll know well, which is really close to Hamilton.
Yeah, very short trip. And of course, Hamilton, there you can measure their season ticket holders in the hundreds rather than the thousands. It's a tiny little club. But, in the shadow of Celtic and Rangers, and even Motherwell, who are a mile along the road, are bigger than Hamilton. But there they go again, another year in the Premiership. They always manage to survive. If the coronavirus had wiped out Scotland, Hamilton Accies would have survived and played on. They're just that kind of team. They're just that kind of, it's like cockroaches in nuclear war. Hamilton would survive that as well. They're an incredible wee club, dogged as ever. And of course, they've lost a lot of players over the summer, but their youth system will produce more players. Interesting seeing James McCarthy been linked with a move to Villa. He was, of course, one of the early graduates of this Hamilton system. And they just keep producing players. But this year, it's interesting reading Brian Rice saying he's been offered more players than ever before, given the recession that's hitting football because of the pandemic. So in theory, Hamilton have got a bigger pool to pick from and should be even stronger this year. So, it's a great start for Celtic getting one of the lower ranked teams in the division for their opening game, but you can never write off Hamilton. There's just something about them. They have survival in their veins.
I was going to say, I bet Hamilton were delighted when the fixtures came out. As for Celtic, they will be going for a 10th straight. What kind of shape are they in for you?
Well, for me, they're weaker than last season. Now, the window has got 2 months to run, so there's plenty of time. But, Fraser Foster has gone. And for me, Celtic's best player last year, their second best player, and the guy who incidentally won all the Player of the Year awards, but in my opinion, Foster was more pivotal in their successes. The Odsonne Edouard, of course, I'm talking about. And Edouard, it's interesting today, Neil Lennon is saying that he's preparing for the exit of Odsonne Edouard. Now, I'd be really surprised if Celtic sold him with 10 in a row coming, and you cannot underestimate the obsession within Celtic Park about 10 in a row. But it's interesting to say that, he is preparing for the exit of Odsonne Edouard. They do have replacements in mind, but I would be amazed if they sold him. But I mean,
is that to Leicester, David? Is that to Leicester? Well,
the Leicester manager knows the Celtic players better than anybody, but I would be amazed. I mean, Brendan's exit, I'm a massive fan of Brendan as a person and as a manager, but we cannot underestimate how upset and hurt the Celtic support were just over a year ago when Brendan walked out on them for Leicester. It didn't fit in with the narrative at all about Brendan being there for 10 in a row. And I think it would be a massive PR own goal if Celtic were ever to sell anybody to Brendan Rodgers, which is a bizarre thing to say, but certainly that was the vibe that came out of Celtic Park when Brendan moved in for Callum McGregor last year.
David, enjoy the game today. Thank you very much. It's good to have football back. Thank you.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So speak to you later, guys.
Cheers,
have a great
David.
day.
Bye-bye.
You will. David Tanner, who will become our Scottish football correspondent instead of our Scottish football politics correspondent now that it started again.